If you were on a mission to fight legendary ninjas from hell, what would you do? The whole country is depending on you, and this job could cost the lives of someone you love. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the devils of Kimon in Ninja Scrolls. This legendary swordsman is going to watch the brutal death of someone he loves. Jubei here is a lone wolf ninja for hire. Passing through this town, he comes across some douchebag samurai. They try to rob him, but Jubei swiftly defeats all three in no time. He then notices a storm headed his way, so he retreats for cover, thinking this storm ain't no big deal, not realizing that this is the beginning of the end. The next day, these villagers fix up their town after the bad weather, when they then see a woman approaching them in the distance, walking like a zombie and covered in skin rashes. She quietly tells these people that her town nearby, Shimoda Village, has just caught a terrifying plague overnight. All of her friends, her neighbors have died, and now her turn is up next. She collapses and kicks the bucket, stunning the villagers. Later, the ruler of the town next door orders the evacuation of Shimoda Village, and hundreds of people without a home arrive at his doorstep. He then gets word that someone saw a stranger pass through town last night, right before the plague started there. This but ugly guy thinks that something strange is going on and prepares his squad of ninjas to go investigate, thinking this mission will be a piece of cake. That night, his finest warriors head to Shimoda Village, cutting through this forest, including this boss babe, Kagero. But the team leader then notices that some of his men have suddenly fallen behind. Suspicious, he tells his second-in-command to go back and look for them, but that's when this guy finds dozens of his men dead on the ground. They've been murdered! He tries to alert the rest of the team, but then gets electrocuted to death by some strange assassin. His piercing screams then alerts the rest of Kagero's team, and everyone gets ambushed. Okay, 1 second ago, I was sent off by my boss to go investigate a town that suddenly got plagued by an infection overnight, which is suspicious as hell, because we have to remember this happens in feudal Japan, and this happened at night, when a good portion of people would have stayed in their houses the whole time anyways. It's not like the virus spread into a party town where all the villagers gathered to hit the club. In such a short time frame, even with such a virus like the measles, which has the highest reproductive number, one person can infect up to 15 people at once. Having a whole town get infected by this virus means that there must have been one central area where most people would have come into contact with it in the night, which is very unlikely. But for this to have happened, it had to have been in such areas like the communal bathrooms, town wells, or perhaps border entrances leading to and from the town, because there is no way that such a virus could have spread so fast otherwise. The Lord and his advisors here should have still been able to think critically, knowing that whatever killed the people in that village happened through an unknown event. They should have carefully first interviewed the citizens that made it out alive first. Traveling at night back to a contagious village where they don't know the full story means that this lord and his ninjas were woefully underprepared even before they encountered trouble. The group leader tries to fight back and orders his best men to do some extra cool shit, but it's not enough, and everyone gets quickly slaughtered. He gets picked up in front of Kagero by this green-faced guy. He quickly tells her to run back to their village, and she watches him get ripped apart, and the guy tastes his blood. She runs away like mad, but this demon is not done, and he catches her, bringing her to this nearby empty house. But that's when he notices a strange man hiding in the shadows. Green-faced guy begins transforming into a sort of horrifying monster, sort of like a really scary Pokemon. Knowing he's in trouble, this guy quickly impales Greenface in the eye with his knife and rescues Kagero. He tries to go after the two, but is stopped by Man Bun Guy aka Yurimaru, who is under Lord Genma's orders, and he says that they have bigger fish to fry. Meanwhile, Jubei introduces himself to Kagero, and the two get to know each other. Oh, how cute. He's a ninja for hire and spends his days traveling Japan, getting paid to kill. She tells him that she doesn't need his help anymore and waits for him to leave her. Once he leaves, she collapses in shock, still reeling from what happened with Green-Faced Guy. She then goes back to her village and reports the horrifying events that just happened, telling the village ruler that all her ninja teammates have been murdered. The ruler is shocked. He tells her that until they find out what they are dealing with, he's not going to send any more soldiers to investigate Shimoda Village. She must find out who the real enemy is first, and then report back as soon as possible. Later, Jubei finally reaches the infamous village, but notices that it's all empty. Okay, well that was something. It's clear that the village lord is definitely not thinking clearly, if you know what I mean. While he's right to suggest that Kagero should do some more digging taking before he wastes sending more men? Realistically, he should have at least thought to provide Kagero with another ninja or two to help her out, because according to all the scientific data from all time, teamwork makes the dream work. When you have more people to help you out, it means that you're able to take more calculated risks that lead to innovation. The Lord was smart enough to not send more troops into a shit show of a situation. If I was Kagero, I would recruit some able bodies and directly pay them out of my pocket to help me out, since clearly the village lord won't. And I would only begin my investigation during sunrise, when the woods will likely be clear of these monsters, which will allow me to more safely continue the investigation. Because trying to head back out into a forest right now is dead on balls to the walls a terrible idea. It's strange, but that's when out of nowhere Greenface guy attacks, separating him from his sword. Jubei quickly uses an invisible string to snag his weapon back, and the two go into battle. He manages to slice his hands open just as Greenface's boomerang blade swings back, stabbing him in the face, killing him instantly. Exhausted, that's when Jubei notices an old man watching him from a distance. He comments that Jubei has done something terrifying. He has now killed a monster known as one of the 8 devils of Kimon, a group of 8 demonic ninjas with crazy supernatural powers, and this is gonna cost him big. It won't be long before they come after Jubei for revenge, and the slimy old man uses this opportunity to tell him to join him, but Jubei tells him to get out of his face. Okay, that was disgusting. What this wrinkly old nasty man just told us is that not only are we up against a pissed off overpowered squad of demon bounty hunters, but we are getting hunted by the best and most horrifying group of hunters in this world, consisting of Greenface, Baddie, Bee-Lover, Daredevil wannabe, Shadow Guy, Red Hat Lady, and Man Bun Guy. He's second in command, and the leader, Genma. This means that Jubei here has now been marked for dead, and means that him ignoring old man could cost him his life. If I was Jubei, despite how strange he, the old man, may seem, we have to remember Jubei is a lone wolf samurai, which means he has no one that relies on him, and since he's a traveler, no one could have given up his location. However, this advantage is also his greatest weakness, and means that he has no one to help him out. By the old man taking an interest in him is probably the best nasty thing that could have happened to Jubei. Should he decide to work with the nasty old man, his chances of surviving have now gotten higher. The next day, still wondering about the old man, Jubei takes a bath in this hot spring, but notices a baddie sitting across from him, and he gets clearly a little too excited, and he knows that this is too good to be true. He pulls his sword close and prepares for what he knows will be a terrifying battle. It's one of the 8 devils of Kimon. They've already caught up with him. Tattoo Baddie then tells him that he killed their ally Greenface, and now he must die. Attacking him with snakes, Jubei quickly defends himself and barely survives, but she gets away. That's when he notices the same greasy old man from before creepily watching him in his underwear. He then reveals to Jubei that he's a government rat that is on a top secret mission to stop the 8 devils of Kimon and their boss, working for the Shogun of the Dark. And this Shogun wants to overthrow the government that the old man works for, but Jubei still refuses and begins walking off. That's when the old man reveals an ace up his sleeve, telling Jubei that earlier he got cut by a throwing star, and that star was laced with poison. The old man knows what the cure is. Jubei thinks he's bluffing, but he quickly starts coughing up blood. Now out of options, Jubei reluctantly is forced to work with him. They then take a boat and set off on their mission. On the way, old man tells him that the 8 devils of Kimon are being led by someone that Jubei has fought before, a man named Himuro Genma. Jubei is shocked and tells old man that he killed this guy 8 years ago, chopping off his head. Old man says that Genma learned the dark arts of regeneration and can now control all the cells in his body. He now can't be killed and is back for revenge on Japan. They then reach the shores of Shimoda, noticing that the air is thick with ghosts and evil. The old man trips down this hill and the two get separated. But that's when the old man realizes that someone is watching him. He quickly dodges an incoming spear and disappears. Meanwhile, Jubei tries to safely reach the old man when he comes across this temple, and he hears someone chanting inside and follows the sound. And just like any horror movie, that is the worst thing that you can do. Walking inside, he sees an infected woman praying. She tells him that they'll all soon go to meet Buddha. Jubei thinks something is up, and the lady begins freaking out. Her skin melts off, and he gets attacked from above. It's the same baddie from earlier. Okay, if I'm Jubei, I'm now really up shit's creek. I'm covered in snakes, and now I'm dealing with a powerful, very attractive ninja. This snaky lady has the power to possess people, and can make her snake tattoos come alive at will. What I would do differently, unlike Jubei, is to not be as gullible as he was to fall so easily into her trap. I would from the get-go not have taken the fact that we got separated from the old man as lightly as he did, because while he may be a sleazy, nasty, creepy old nuisance, he's the one who is familiar with the situation and was our only partner who we could have used. Since a two-man team was better than one, Jubei's arrogance is the one trait that cost him, and it's not crazy to assume that Jubei was more than capable of tracking the old man's location by following his footprints, noticing the direction that the grass bends as the old man walked through the grass. He could have picked up on the signs of where he had fallen, and he could have more easily located him if he really wanted to. And also going in alone as well. He rushed inside of the temple the moment he saw someone there. He didn't even bother to check his surroundings like he should have, or to see if this area was actually a trap, meaning that he should have acted as if death was lurking around every corner, because it was. His careless actions in this instance contributed directly to his fate. It means that really he deserves every nasty thing that is about to happen to him, because for a soldier, a ninja, whatever he is, he wasn't very ninja-y. She demands that Jubei tell her if he and the old man are the only ones trying to stop them. But that's when Kagero shows up and holds this demon at knife point. The demon tries to bite her, but she reveals that she's resistant to poison. Losing her patience, she forces the demon to turn off her powers and demands to know what they're doing in Shimoda village. And she's about to spill the beans, but she suddenly gets electrocuted, turning her skin into crispy Japanese bacon. And somehow nobody notices the hair that's around her neck. She's been killed by Man Bun Guy. Kagero then tells Jubei that she has finally cleared her debt to him for saving her life, and tells him that she will now go and figure out what the 8 devils are up to and avenge her old ninja squad. Jubei tells her that it's too dangerous for her, but she says that she can handle it. Slimy old man then appears again and asks for Kagero to also join their team, telling her that while their goals may be different, they share a common enemy, and tells her that he has some very valuable information on Genma and his 8 devils, and knows where they could be found. So just like Jubei, sleazy slimeball old man gets Kagero to join them. Old man then tells Jubei that this girl is useful as hell and reveals that she's been blessed with the power of poison. Anyone who tries to get frisky, naughty with her will get poisoned through her skin and die, revealing to Jubei that Greenface would have died by her hand anyways, had Jubei not rescued her, that is. And they'll be able to use this power in battle. The next morning, the 3 go down to this river and try to sneak closer to the center of Shimoda village, not realizing that they're being tracked. There, they discover their worst fears, figuring out that the 8 devils poisoned the wells of this town that night, and any villagers who discovered what was really going on was slaughtered. They've tricked the residents and made them think it was the plague, using this distraction to cover their tracks. The old man knows something is up, but doesn't know why this village or what the bad guys are up to. But that's when they notice a few bees flying by, and it's rather strange. But then they hear something, and they go out to look, feeling weirded out. But then they spot something horrifying approaching them in the distance, coming in fast. A swarm of horrifying hornets charging at them, and they run away like hell. Okay, this is insane shit happening right now, because we're up against not just bees, where they stab you once and they're done. Oh no. We're dealing with what looks like to be hornets, which means that they'll be able to sting us repeatedly. And according to this insect pain scale, the pain felt from a hornet's stung is rich, hearty, and slightly crunchy. Sounds delicious. And the crazy thing is that a hornet's sting is 50 times less toxic than a bee sting. But you've got to imagine that getting stung over and over again by hundreds of hornets repeatedly is enough to make any top-tier ninja shit his pants. If I was them, I would have anticipated that entering the village would have meant running into some kind of trouble. This is ground zero, where everything all started. And what's worse is the bad guy we're up against. This guy is highly intelligent. He has the ability to command an army of hornets, and judging from how he began this attack, just like Tattoo Snake Lady, both seem to prefer starting out with ranged attacks first, which can keep them safe. But now we need to worry about the current situation, which is that we have an army of thousands of hornets headed straight for us. In order to survive, we need to do the following. We need to be able to stop these hornets from breathing oxygen-rich air. That will be the fastest way to stop this horde en masse. And this can be done by creating a bunch of smoke, which will subdue the hornets and chase the swarm away. Around us are batches of trees which can be seen growing, and this we could use to help start a fire and create a lot of smoke. It should chase a large portion of the hornets away, giving us a chance to use this momentary opportunity to run away when the swarm dissipates, or keep the fire going and send off one of our teammates to find Bee Lover and take him out. Kagero quickly uses her powers, throwing pollen into the air laced with poison, and she tries to slow them down, but there's too many hornets for her to handle. Jubei then notices the man controlling the hornet swarm in the distance, and he makes a break for it, trailing him until he leads him into this abandoned cottage. Jubei gets ready to easily kill the guy, but that's when he confirms Jubei Jubei's worst fears and tells him that the man named Genma will meet him again soon, and that shocks Jubei to his core. This is the man that Jubei killed before and has now come back to life, and he's now learned how to regenerate his body and now can't die. So how does he kill him? Jubei doesn't have any time to process this when B-Guy attacks him and gets his back cut by the samurai sword. Jubei thinks it's over, but that's when this guy reveals that his back is home to a terrifying hornet's nest. They quickly begin to swarm Jubei, and he runs for his life and jumps into the river. Holding his breath for as long as he can, he tries to quickly come up with a plan, attacking B-Lover Hornet guy from below, and he pulls him into the water. Discovering that the hornets now trapped within the water are trying to escape from within B-Guy, piercing through his skin. They quickly and very painfully kill him. Jubei then heads back to his group and tells them what he's found out about his mortal enemy, Genma. Old Man tells them that they've now attracted too much attention to themselves, and it's only a matter of time until they both get killed. And he leaves them to carry out the rest of his mission alone and disappears. Thanks. Kagero tries to figure out their next move, but Jubei realizes that he's running out of time. He finally tells Kagero about the poison running through his body and tells her that he has less than a full day left to get the poison antidote, or else he'll die a brutal death. Big Chin Kagero is flabbergasted, but Jubei then has the biggest realization of all. He remembers that during his first night in this area, he spotted some suspicious people passing by him on horseback, and they were headed straight for Shimoda village. He quickly tries to get on higher ground to get a clear view of the area, and he spots a shipwreck right on the shores of Shimoda village. Kagero's eyes suddenly widen as she sees her dear fallen comrade in the distance, the guy who got his arms ripped off. She rushes over to help him and sees his mouth and eyes have been sewn shut, and she is spotted by Red Hat Lady. Jubei quickly rushes in to save Kagero as her teammates' corpses blow up. Red Hat Lady thinks they're dead and runs off, but Jubei holds on to his life with his sword string, and Kagero feels shame for being a damsel in distress and tells Jubei that she doesn't need his help no longer. But he tells her to shut it, and they pull themselves up, just as they come across their next opponent, the next devil of Kimon, Daredevil Wannabe. He challenges Jubei to an honorable fight to the death, and Jubei lures him into this bamboo forest. Okay, this fight is about to ruffle some serious feathers, because Daredevil Wannabe here, just like his name suggests, he's a blind Ronin swordsman who now uses his other, now enhanced senses to beat down any opponent he faces. And the fact that he just held Jubei and Kagero off of a cliff shows that he has insane strength. Jubei here picked the right spot to duel the Daredevil Wannabe, as being surrounded by many bamboo sprouts will allow him to distract the devil by overstimulating his sharpened senses. While it's a myth that blind people gain extra senses, it is true that they learn to pay more attention to the information from their other senses. It's noted that Jubei just told Kagero to stand down for this fight, which in this case was the wrong move. I would have used Kagero's short sword to take on the Daredevil Wannabe, because while he is technically human, his senses outmatch us, and he no doubt has some sort of trick up his sleeve to gain the upper hand on us. I mean, he's a bounty hunter, it's not like he's really going to play by the rules. So why do we have to fight honorable? I say screw honor, we gotta fight dirty, and here's how. While ninjas back at that period usually would have carried one short sword at best, Jubei here is carrying one long sword, and the fact that Daredevil Wannabe technically held our weapon up while we were hanging from a cliff, this means that despite not being able to see, he can probably infer that we were only carrying one sword, and that means he's only expecting one sword to be used in combat. We can take him by surprise by quietly signaling for Kagero to hand us her sword before going into battle, which will allow us to surprise attack Daredevil Wannabe when he least expects it. We need every edge that we can gain. Jubei realizes that in order to kill this samurai, he can't make any sound. He tries his best to kill him, but the devil manages to dodge all of his attacks, and now Kagero's attacks. Their sight has now become their weakness. Falling to the ground, he quickly sets up a fake defense position, with Kagero's sword now stuck to this tree, and he tricks Daredevil Wannabe and stabs him in the chest, killing him and winning the match. Exhausted, they go to check out the shipwreck, discovering footprints and signs of cargo being dragged. Jubei thinks something crashed here the night before Shimoda village got slaughtered. Kagero then discovers that the cargo tracks lead straight to a nearby harbor, and they both piece together the mystery. The 8 devils of Kimon wanted something from this ship, and will now try to steal the cargo by boat. Damsel in distress Kagero is horrified and tells Jubei that if they don't stop them, everyone they've murdered, their spirits will never be able to rest. They quickly follow the tracks and do some reconnaissance, and they run into none other than Old Man, and he helps them solve their mystery. He tells them that the 8 devils are waiting for a ship to arrive at this harbor that is full of gold. The ship that crashed during the storm was likely carrying stolen gold meant to be delivered to the Shogun of the Dark. The bad guys have come back to steal what they lost, and if this gold reaches the Dark Shogun, he'll be powerful enough to topple the country's government and will start another civil war. Jubei gets ready to head off when they sense another devil nearby. Shadow Guy! Kagero tries to send a messenger bird to tell her clan what she's discovered, but the old man warns her that her clan is too small and the gold is not their gold, which means this isn't their fight, and they likely won't react or even help out. But she brushes him off and sends it anyways. Shadow Guy then tries to attack, but Jubei quickly cuts off his leg and he chases the devil away, tracking him into these mountains. But then Jubei realizes that he's been set up. Meanwhile, Old Man leaves Kagero for 1 second and Shadow Guy appears right behind her and takes her away. Jubei runs back to have his worst fears confirmed. Kagero has been kidnapped again, and slimy Old Man tells her to just leave her to her fate. But Jubei refuses and goes off to save his sexy teammate. Tracking them down, he finds Kagero in this run-down, scary-looking house, seeing that Kagero was absolutely tortured. But he doesn't see Shadow Guy anywhere and doesn't realize that Shadow Guy sees him though. Okay, well, it's cool that Jubei did the most obvious thing that all heroes do, which is to save the damsel in distress, but really, why go save her without any backup? Maybe put a little more thought into this, Jubei, because right now, he's up against another devil of Kimon, and this one is scarier than the rest. This guy is a shadow warrior who has mastered the ability to merge into any pocket of shadow he sees and is able to possess people's minds. And if you'll notice, he just got his whole leg cut off and didn't even blink. It means that either this guy doesn't feel pain or is a certified psycho. This is why attacking him here is not the wise move. If I was Jubei, I would have first asked Old Man to help me out, and at the very least would have waited before going into this abandoned house where Kagero was being held to do, I don't know, maybe some proper recon before heading into there willy-nilly. We had Old Man with us before, and him working with the government means that he could have told us about this demon's exact powers, which would have prepared us. All of this dark and shadowy as crap in here, it does seem like this place is on the verge of breaking apart. Getting this demon out in the open would be my #1 priority, because while he is an expert in the shadows, his look and powers makes me think that his skills are more suited to stealth and espionage, and judging from how he attacked us earlier, he's not like Daredevil wannabe. He likes to fight dirty, he likes the element of surprise, and to not be in the open. I would have first brought along a makeshift torch to light up any dark corners we encountered before literally burning this place to the ground, forcing the shadow demon to deal with us, or to even leave the house, which would then give us the time to get Kagero and get away, before the fire consumed the house whole. Kagero turns on Jubei and tries to attack him, just as he coughs up blood. He's running out of time. Shadow Guy tries to attack Jubei just as he uses the last of his strength to throw his sword right into the devil's chest, killing him and breaking the mind control he has over Kagero, and he quickly passes out. Later, he wakes up to find Kagero watching over the ship harbor, waiting for her clan's armies to show up. Concerned, she tells Kagero her clan should have showed up by now, and begins to think that the old man was right. She walks over to Jubei and says that she'll repay him right now for saving her life again. She tells Jubei that the old man finally told her how to cure Jubei by getting very, very flirty with him, using the poison from her body to counteract the poison in his body. Jubei is shocked, happy, but mostly shocked, but he declines her offer to save his life and hugs her because he's such a good guy. Jubei walks out of there to finish the job that he started. Later, the boat finally arrives and the bad guys begin loading the gold. Jubei sneaks in nearby and does some recon, running into Old Man. He comes up with a plan and tells Old Man to go nearby and provide a distraction. Old Man heads over to ring the bell, but that's when everyone hears something approaching in the distance. It's Kagero's clan. Kagero then rushes over to her village lord, and he tells her that they've got the whole place surrounded. But that's when evil ninjas surround them, and Kagero and her clan prepare for battle. She takes out her sword and gets ready, but suddenly gets stabbed in the back by her village lord. Jubei freaks out, and the village lord transforms into Genma. He says that the village lord has been dead for days already. Raging with anger, Jubei charges in and slices and dices every evil ninja he sees, while Man Bun Guy tells Genma to get on the ship to meet the Shogun of the Dark. Man Bun Guy prepares to handle Jubei and lures him into this house and manages to choke Jubei with his electric hair. Jubei begins to suffocate, but Man Bun Guy falls into Red Hat Lady's trap, killing him. This lady was in love with Man Bun Guy, but he treated her like shit off screen, so she took her revenge on him right here and now. Getting on the boat, Red Hat Lady and Genma set sail, while Jubei runs to find Kagero. In her last dying breath, She tells Jubei that she's fallen in love with him and he was the only one in her life who treated her like a human being, and she plants a big one on his lips, instantly curing Jubei of his poison sickness. He then takes her headband that she gives him and she dies classic anime style. Okay, this is so sad because Kagero here died doing what she loved, ninja shit. She did everything wrong possible and didn't act like no proper ninja I ever saw. She time and time again didn't listen to Jubei when he told her to stay out of trouble, and this cost her her ultimate demise. At this point, all we can do is carry on her memory with us, being the ninja that she could never be, because she's useless. And I'm not being funny, because studies have found that people's brains, when in love, have activation in areas of the brain, and this is why the feeling of strong attachment, love, can come with mood swings, cravings, obsessions, and distortion of reality. And this explains why Kagero was acting like a little girl that was always hot and cold towards Jubei, and also kept coming back to Jubei even when he told her not to. And this also makes sense as to why she sent a messenger bird to her clan. She should have just gone back to the clan herself to deliver the news. If I was Kagero, I would have been highly suspicious of my clan coming here to begin with, as the old man was right about our clan. It's small, the gold is not theirs, and Shimoda village has little to do with them. And after losing their best warriors in one night, it wouldn't make sense for my clan to divert precious resources to fight a battle that they have no dog in. She should have recognized this fact. She should have waited in the shadows and stayed out of sight to see what moves they would have made first before revealing herself. She also should have just left her lover boy to begin with. Jubei at this point should take Kagero's death as a cautionary tale and leave this whole fight himself, because at this point, aside from being promised to get paid in gold by old man, he has nothing to do with this conflict either. He's not poisoned anymore. The old man doesn't have any real hold on him in reality. So why does he have to carry on this mission? We know the reason why. That love is the most underrated and worst addiction one can have. Jubei takes a couple of anime seconds to be sad before he goes back into cool guy mode. Getting on his horse, he chases the bad guy ship down and swims the rest of the way onto the boat. Meanwhile, Genma meets with his boss, the Shogun of the Dark. This man is the most powerful evil guy in Japan and congratulates Genma for a job well done. But that's when Genma stabs him in the back, telling the Shogun that he'll steal the gold and use it to organize the most powerful ninja army in the world and take over Japan himself, throwing the Shogun of the Dark into the water. Nearby, Jubei finally sneaks onto the ship, taking out these ninja minions while Old Man runs into Red Hat Lady. But Old Man manages to one-up her, pouring oil onto her. He tag teams with Jubei, who sets her on fire, burning her and part of the boat instantly, killing all of the ninjas Bill Kill style. He reaches Genma, the man he killed 5 years ago. He attacks him, but quickly finds out that Genma is now a god among men. Jubei gets the shit kicked out of him, and Genma tells him that he'll make Jubei suffer like he did. And Jubei manages to retrieve his sword using a string and cuts Genma's arm clean off. But he realizes that Genma is unstoppable and unkillable, and Jubei resorts to close quarter combat just as the roof above them begins to fall. Enraged by Kagero's death, Jubei doesn't stop and stabs Genma and cuts him in half. In the blazing fire, the gold nearby melts and begins to form an ever-rising liquid metal ocean around them, and Jubei tries to get to higher ground. But Genma grabs onto him. In a final move, Jubei cuts his hand off and watches Genma fall into the sea of melted gold all around him, sinking to the bottom of the ocean. After, Old Man shows up and continues to be a D to Jubei, telling him that he'll pay him for helping him out. Only if Jubei cheers up though. But he tells Old Man to buzz off. Jubei leaves the ship and continues on his ninja adventures, forever regretting the one time that he turned down true love. But what did you guys think about the video? Let us know what you like about it and what you didn't like about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and also check out our How to Beat playlist.